say I got to send a pilot into enemy territory and he's going to be flying a plane. It costs $350 million. Who am I going to put in that plane? Some rookie who can't cut the grade because I want to see if he can rise to the challenge? Or am I going to give that assignment to my best pilot?
Amazon Prime's Rings of Power is a series where everyone plays pretend. You have the showrunners pretending to know Tolkien better than the professor. You have directors pretending to be Peter Jackson. And you have the writers pretending it's their therapy sessions, pushing their anger issues onto each character. You even have the studio paying people to pretend that they're real fans. But the Fellowship doesn't play pretend. We love Tolkien, and we're going to continue exposing these imposters as we continue to fight. Rings is the classic example of a corporation that's responsible for more destruction of mom and pop businesses than politicians, rebranding Tolkien into a Twitter troll praising Disney She-Hulk. Period. Welcome, Slayer Nation. It's time we slay this giant. Prime has treated the legendarian like a 90s wannabe starlet on Weinstein's casting couch. You want the proof? See after 5 hours if there's any story or character development. You're going to have to put out an Amber Alert to find any. And this time, the Bobbsey twins of Payne and McKay tried their hand at comedy. But it's not funny. The studio complex have dedicated all their resources to mocking and disrespecting John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's life work. You know, that's one of the reasons I watch this series, to keep you updated to their hype and their hatred. So you don't have to watch it. But art, you have to understand, we have to preserve art. It's a beautiful thing. It changes people's lives. It turns strangers into friends and enemies into family. It inspires. It turns good days better and brighter days to shine even further and farther away. It's a beautiful thing. I'll give you an example. When I was 7, I was kidnapped and beaten for a year. When I was finally rescued and brought back home, my mother gave me The Hobbit. She read it to me every night. The same way Tolkien wrote it to his kids when he was writing it. You fight for something like that so it never happens again. And that's the beauty of what's happening now with Amazon series. Because they've destroyed it and made a mockery of the legendary, we have millions of people from around the world who are sharing their love of Middle-earth, all their favorite characters, all their stories of Arda. It's beautiful. Become a part of it. Push the subscribe button down below and add your voice to the conversation. Now, did this episode change my mind in any way? This is the worst series in television? No. The Bobbsey twins, like I said, tried their hand at comedy. They showed Galadriel sword fighting single-handedly against 5 inexperienced sailors and barely getting a scratch. See, Netflix trained Charlie Cox for almost 6 months to prepare him to do Daredevil. Prime spent one day to train Morfydd Clark to spin around in this cringe ballet, which is a cross between Dancing with the Stars and a bad parody of Men in Tights. Even that blind guy whacking away at the wooden column is more realistic than what Clark did. But what's more stunning is in Ring's very own timeline, just moments ago, Galadriel was universally hated by everyone in the Island Kingdom. And now she's leading their armies to Middle-earth. It's interesting. There's no standing army. There's no weapons master to train the military. There's not one single man to train the men. They're just waiting for an elf. Elendil, at a bazaar in Quenya, the elven language, could ask Galadriel, hey, you want to put these recruits through their paces? So she does. She trains them.
Come at me.
And then I found a clip from House of the Dragons, episode 6. I haven't watched the series except for the first episode. And they did a similar training sequence last weekend. It was beautiful, brilliant. I melted into the moment. You had these warriors that had padded armor on, hand guards, wooden swords. Even the mechanics, the physics of their fighting between a big guy bashing the hell out of a little guy worked because it was realistic.
You!
It wasn't watching a 5'4" waif bash around 5 grown men and eating their lunch.
you serious?
You have to remember, Galadriel that is in rings is not the real one in the books. The real one in the books never went to Numenor. She didn't walk around with two swords, didn't wear armor, wasn't the scourge of orcs all across Middle-earth. She used her wisdom, her intelligence, her magic, and her spirituality and her patience to solve problems. She was noble and honorable. People followed her to the death. They looked up to her because Tolkien wrote her as an embodiment of the Virgin Mary, not Trinity from the Matrix. But what's most amusing is that she's leading 500-man army. What's interesting about this is in the canon, Numenor at its peak, right before its fall, had one of the mightiest, most ferocious military mights in the world. I mean, when Ar-Pharazôn had his feelings hurt when he heard Sauron declare that he was Lord of all men, he marched on Mordor. And when Sauron's army saw Numenorian might, all their military, the men started deserting. That's when Sauron changed gears, switched tactics, like, okay, can't win this with muscle, got to use manipulation. He bowed down to Pharazôn, allowed himself to be taken as hostage all the way back to the Island of the Star, and there slowly worked on the man. He poisoned his mind, then seduced his soul, till he got him to worship Morgoth, build a temple to the Dark Lord, then burn the white tree of Nimloth, which had been given to them as a gift from the elves of Tol Eressëa, the little island right outside of Aman. And once he did that, it started the dominoes falling until Numenor was destroyed. That is what happened. Those are the facts. So now we're going to go to Middle-earth. And finally, once and for all, we confirm that the Harfoots are a psychotic troupe of Charles Manson family midgets with a bloodthirsty hunger for murder. Period. End of statement. They contradict themselves time and time again. They're not this lovey-dovey, sing-songy, idealistic group. No, where they're like, none of us walks alone. None of us gets left behind. BS. If you can't pull your weight, if you do something they don't like, guess what? They're going to take your wheels, leave your cart in the middle of nowhere surrounded by enemies and creatures. And then later they're going to make songs up about it and laugh their butts off, going, oh, we remember so-and-so. These aren't the hobbits that we love. These are like wood warrior cutthroats. The mysterious stranger, of course, is in this episode. He's just more mystery box theater, not worth our time. Then we have the M&M gang. They finally make an appearance from the trailers. From there, we catch up with Bronwyn. Bronwyn has now become the girl boss of the Southland. She's preparing all her people in the tower for the defense of it from the imminent attack from the orcs.
Who among you will stand and fight? I'm going to stand and fight.
And I'm going to take us and I'm going to assume for a second. I think the Bobbsey twins, since they can't come up with anything original, what they do is utter dog's pile, is they're going to copy Peter Jackson's Helm's Deep and try to recreate that battle. Then we have Arondir. Arondir stands around giving her advice what to do, but really he seems to just be happy that the villain Adar gave him back his bow and arrows. Lastly, we got High King Gil-galad. I start calling him Gil-galadriel because he's competing with Mary Sue Marvel for being the biggest jerk and the most unlikable character in the series. We discover that mithril is now a medicinal cure-all, and Amazon rewrote the origins of the precious metal, saying it comes from Silmarils. Interesting. It can cure jock itch, toe fungus, remove warts, and restore the fading light of the elves so they can hold on to their immortality. I kid you not. This is what Amazon calls original. So Gil-galad had sent Elrond to Khazad-dûm under the umbrella of a lie, not to get their help to build this great forge, but to confirm, in fact, they had found mithril. Because see, they need the mithril because Gil-galad had sent Galadriel back, remember in episode 1, back to Valinor, and then afterwards she jumped ship because he saw the darkness in her heart, and that darkness, the evil spread to the tree, and that tree was decaying, and the decay is now killing the elves, and blah, 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 blah. So they need a boatload of mithril to rub on themselves, eat, I don't know, use it like a flashlight so they can continue to be immortal. Otherwise, they're going to have to get back on the ships and leave Middle-earth and go back to Valinor. If Amazon is listening, in canon, it was Eru Ilúvatar who gave the elves their immortality, not some magical medicinal mithril. Period. But see, Amazon gets this all wrong because they do not understand the professor's world. It requires critical thinking and critical reasoning, and Hollywood doesn't have those type of people anymore. They have bumper sticker slogans that breathe and go to the bathroom. See, they thought they were going to give us 3 girl bosses like Galadriel, Tarmiriel, and Bronwyn, and we'd all be happy because they believed that they would use girl power as a theme, forgetting that it's a slogan because they confused virtue signaling with actually having something to say. They're twisting Tolkien's mythological masterpiece in order to get you used to watching garbage so you will one day embrace their 5-season plan. They're doing this all at the same time while trying to program people with this new moral relativity. You have Galadriel continually pushing the line. If you want to see the light, you have to touch the darkness. Tolkien despised situational ethics because there's no right, there's no wrong. There's only the pursuit of personal goals. There's only me. But you know what the phenomenal news is? Is because of you, the milk that they wanted to squeeze from this cash cow has curdled. And if you want that to continue, you know what to do. You be your best self. You get out there and lead by example, and you let them hear you roar. We never bow down. We never bend the knee. Firmly, defiant. Step up, stand tall, and get busy living your best life now, always forward.
Sometimes you wanna go where